Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Love You One podcast. It starts with you. This is your host, Anne Helgren. Today, I'm joined by a really interesting guest called Liv Slania. Hi, Liv. I met Liv during a group that we are both members of, and I found her to be quite a fascinating person just in general. And I thought, you know what, I have to have Liv on this podcast. And I think your listeners are going to agree with me. She is an amazingly inspiring person when you listen to her story and listen to what she's been through. So Liv, before I bring you on, Liv, just to give the listeners a little bit more information about you. So Liv is a criminal justice peer supporter at a UK charity called Together for Mental Wellbeing. She's also the founder of Superheroics, which works with both private and charities as well. So private clients and charities as well. And the work that she does there is absolutely amazing. She's able to give her clients rapid results. And even in the case of repeat offenders, which, if you know anything about the criminal system, is quite a challenging thing to do with repeat offenders. So without further ado, Liv, thank you so much for being on this podcast and welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing. Hi, Anne. And thank you for this wonderful intro.
Absolutely. Liv, I know that I'm really excited to have you here, and I'm really excited to get the listeners to know you as well. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey, Superheroics, wherever you want to start.
So let's start with right now. So currently, yes, I do peer support at a mental health charity, the Together for Mental Wellbeing, as you mentioned, where we help those with mental health issues who get in trouble with the law on their path to recovery. And I, as a peer supporter, help guide the individual and assist them through the situation by helping them navigate them through the labyrinth of madness. Because very often, many people don't get out to the other side when they're having, for example, a psychotic break. And that's where I come in, because I personally experienced it myself. If you rewind a few years, I suffered a psychotic breakdown where there was a fire, and I found myself charged with arson with intent to endanger life, which carries a life sentence, which potentially carries a life sentence. So,
Wow.
that's how it was tough. It was tough. I lost everything. My mind, home, job, reputation, finances, and most of my friends. However, apart from the few people that I did have left, this story that my dad told me about how after the Second World War, after everybody lost everything and they had to rebuild everything from the rubble up, villages, towns, cities, everything, he said that there was a certain kind of freedom and power that came from having lost everything and having nothing more to lose but everything to gain. And that was indeed an experience that I wouldn't want to trade for anything, because all the things that I thought mattered to me, the people that I thought mattered to me, I thought best friends and all that, gone in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
So that's the intro.
First of all, it's shocking how you can lose so much so fast.
Yes.
And I know we spoke about your story before this, but you mentioned about how the journey as well of when this fire started and when you were accused of doing what you were accused of doing. I mean, obviously you were not in your complete frame of mind at that point. And tell us a little bit more, like now that you're not there anymore, do you still experience any kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, do you have memories of that experience? And is there fear attached to it? Like you could have been so detached from your reality? Like, what does that look like from someone perhaps who's never suffered a mental breakdown?
When you suffer a psychotic break, at least in the case of the stories that I've heard, things I've experienced, is that it looks real, it feels real, it seems real. So you're not questioning it as it's happening, whether it's real, because it's right in front of you. So why shouldn't it be real? I'm not questioning whether you're real, whether we're having this conversation, right? Because it's happening. It's exactly the same with the other side of things. And, although it is, sorry, although it is packaged as a mental kind of breakdown, it can be a spiritual awakening too, if you know how to, yet again, get out from one side of the tunnel to the other side, to the end of it. And that's where, for example, the role of peer supporters is so crucial. Psychologists and psychiatrists, they're very helpful, and they can diagnose a patient. They can prescribe medication like psychiatrists can. But peer supporters know about mental ill health, not from books and theory, but from experience. So together, it creates a fuller recovery package, let's call it. That's how I've noticed the quickest results, where different professionals work together and then help the individual, to heal and get better.
I love that. And you said something that's really interesting there. You talked about like a spiritual awakening. Tell me more about what you mean by that.
Okay, so for example, at the time after I suffered the psychosis, I thought my life ended. I thought I lost everything. I thought, literally, I thought it was the end. And not only after losing, my mind, home, job and everything, I thought, oh, now I'm going to lose my freedom too. And
wow,
I wished for everything else other than what was happening, including, well, I wanted to end it multiple times. That happened too. Even climbing over rails, trying to make sure that your skull cracks. Otherwise, you don't want to wake up paraplegic type of thing. So it was a serious, serious matter. Yeah, but I didn't. And I'm so grateful that I didn't. And here we are talking about it. But at the time, I would have done anything in order to stop the pain. But now, if I had a choice to go back pre-fire to my old mindset or go through what I'd gone through to land where I'm at now, I would do it again. And not like I wish it. Oh no, it was hell. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. But what it taught me through the process is invaluable. It's priceless. So once you come out the other end, you really do realize that everything does happen for a reason, that there is a journey to be taken, of the individual called Liv, the individual called Anne, and everyone else, because each one of us is on this potentially spiritual journey, if you want it to be a spiritual journey. That's where free will comes in handy too. But to me, it feels like one of the greatest gifts I could have received, because I would never want to go back to how I was pre-fire. I was a prisoner of my own mind. I thought I was functional. I thought I had it all under control. And it turns out that I was, building a house of cards, acting quite erratic, surrounded, by people who maybe didn't understand me. It's not like they didn't wish me well or anything, but if you don't know how to deal with somebody suffering from mental ill health, you don't. You just think, what a weirdo, he, she, they, are mad. Well, no, there's more to it. But yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, Liv. First of all, I think you've picked up quite a few things that I'd love to talk about a little bit more.
Sure.
And like in the gist of this podcast, for those of you who've been following for a while, I think you've used to listening to me talk about relationships and all kind of aspects of relationship, but the flowing theme has always been around empowering ourselves to make the decisions in our own lives and pivot the way we want our lives to pivot. And this new series that I've been doing is for the new listeners and the old listeners, is talking about empowering stories, inspiring stories. And Liv, you talked about your experience of, and it really cut me deep when you talked about even to the extent that you thought about it, that you did not want to wake up from the attempt, like it was not a parasite attempt that you were going through. And for me, those who know me, those who perhaps know me personally or listen to the podcast, I've talked about my own brother as well, who committed and the loss of of my brother in that way, I think is one of the worst ways you can lose someone. But what people don't understand as well is that by the time you get to that place where you want to take your life, I didn't know this then back then, but now I understand it better. This is now that I understand it better, and people have such, I think, horrible views sometimes. I'm hoping it's getting better. I'm hoping as we talk about mental health, that people are understanding more of, if someone does commit, it is because they don't see another way out.
Yes.
It is not that there is just no other option for them. Like, you can only imagine the level of suffering they must be going through within. Because people, I hate it when people say, oh, how could they do that? How selfish it was. Well, they're not thinking about their family or their children or their wives. And I go, oh my God, do you really think this person was in a complete state of mind to take their own life? I mean, so, I'm glad we're able to have this conversation. I
I'm
think,
really sorry for your loss, by the way. I didn't know.
oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think having this kind of conversations is empowering for people who are also struggling with their mental health, perhaps who are thinking about taking their own lives, and just really emphasizing how important it is to get help and not to suffer in silence. And,
Yes.
before we go on to the other things that you brought up, Liv, I know you mentioned that this is part of what you do in your role with the UK charity.
Yeah.
So in your own company that you've started now, Superheroics, can you tell us a little bit more about, for the listeners perhaps who are listening to this, we've seen that COVID really brought a wave of mental health issues because of the pandemic, being pretty much locked up in your house sometimes.
And isolated.
I
Yeah,
really
of
don't want to
course.
know, don't want to be with, and so what would you advise people who are in that state where they're struggling mentally, from your own life experiences and working in the charity as well?
What I've noticed in my clients is that each one of them needs hope. So hope is something that I think all of us, the whole world needs at the moment. So for what it's worth, although if I listen to what I'm about to say, back when I was suffering, I wouldn't listen to it, but it's worth saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that it is possible to change your life. It is possible. I see it on a regular basis with multiple stories, regularly, people turning their terrible obstacles, into fulfilled lives. And for the record, if anyone thinks, I had it hard, not in comparison to the peers I support. The more I listen to the stories, the more amazed I am at how strong those individuals are. And I deal with people with severe cases, some that are called unforgivables, or those deemed untreatable by others. Because I've been in the dark place, in the abyss. I was literally almost swallowed by it whole. Wow. I know what it feels like. I know what it's like to feel dead before you're dead. Yeah, it's not pleasant. I don't recommend it, yeah. But because I've been there, now I can connect on that level with people who need hope and some light. And it's what I would like for people to know is how easy it is to make a slight change. One positive word at the right time can change somebody's life. One little something deed, if somebody's running because they're late for the tube, don't yell at them, open the door for them. We all know what it's like. It's just a bit extra, compassion. And but you learn these things through adversity. When everything is comfortable and easy, we don't learn as well as when life shows us, lesson one, pam, 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 and then you're like, whoa, okay. I guess that makes me smart now or experienced. But,
It's so true. You will learn more during the difficult times than in the easy times. That's
Yes,
sure.
yes, but the line is so thin between learning or giving up and doing it over and over again and being stuck in the Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Because yet again, I think 99.9% of the clients, including in the private sector, just I'm putting all my clients into one bucket.
Sure.
Every single one never felt good enough, and they felt like maybe the world would be better without them, which is when I realized that there is some mass brainwashing going on, because it's not possible for everyone from different walks of life, super successful businessman to a homeless individual, yeah. Not good enough, not good enough. Failure, 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 including me. But hey, I mean, I was facing life, so I did feel like a failure.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating, and it keeps happening. People with completely different stories, walks of life, coming to similar conclusions about themselves. And it's, yet again, bad. It's not good. Nobody goes, fabulous, wonderful, I'm wonderful. No, no. And even those deemed unforgivables, I've never come across somebody that chose that life and that was like, yes, when I grow up, I'll be this, I'll be that, I'll do this evil thing, or I'll do that. No, it's just people in such desperate situations, at least in their minds, such desperate situations that was the best they could do.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to make a mistake. Before I was a bit, yet again, before I was a bit less understanding, but yeah, I made one mistake and my whole life, turned upside down. That's what it felt like at the time. But yet again, was it worth it? Yes.
Okay, and that's really interesting that you say, was it worth it? Yes. And another thing as well that you mentioned there about the hope, and I really hope the listeners, no pun intended, are actually listening to that little key bit there, that a lot of the times what people need is hope. And I mean, of course, it depends on your level of how far you are in your mental illness, what it is exactly, and so on. But I think that word hope, I think, is so important because it's not just for the person who is struggling mentally, it's also for the people around them.
Yes.
To understand that this is how you can support this person, because sometimes we just have no idea how to support someone. You see them, you love them, you want to help them, excuse me, but you just have no idea how to go about it. And what you just say there, giving them that hope and understanding and empathy and love. And I know it might sound corny to some people, but I think love is such a powerful thing as well.
Love heals
A lot of
everything,
the
yes.
times you are not loving yourself, and that's how you've gotten to that state, or you're struggling to love yourself. So I'm not saying that mental illness, by the way, just kind of to hear me correctly, I'm not saying that everyone going through some kind of mental psychosis or mental health issues do not love themselves. But what I'm saying is that it is typically hard to find a lot of love for yourself when you're in that space, and hence the depression, thoughts, etc., kick in. I've never come across, my background is psychology, I've never come across anyone who is and loves themselves. And I mean that on a deeper level, not a narcissistic.
So yeah, absolutely. When it comes to absolutely. When it comes to there is a variety of psychotic breaks where many people think, and yet again, it's a fascinating observation to make. Many people think that they're the chosen one, that they're here to save the world, which is, in at least how we view it when talking to clients, is it's a formula. Mental ill health, it's got a formula. It's not so nonsensical as people think. There is a strategy, and yes, there is that side of wanting to do something for the world and help the world. But whilst suffering, whilst going through active psychosis, often people think, yes, I am Jesus, or I am Buddha, or I am somebody famous, and successful, and they're at the height of the emotion. It's all unnatural and all that, but yeah, there is those as well. And mental health is such a such a fascinating field, such a fascinating topic, you
Mm.
know, which if we start dissecting it, it might seem complex, but in reality, people are not as difficult or complex as we make us. You know, we all like it when people are nice to us. When somebody is mean to us, we get sad. You know, it's not rocket science. We
Yeah.
make it sound like how like what you talked about, wanting to help people who are in that very, very dark state, but not knowing how. Of course, and that's the thing. Nobody expects anyone to know. It's just about doing what you can.
Yeah.
You know, and the rest is up to the individual. Because the thing that I've noticed is, yet again, I've sadly, so it's I've had in my family from both sides, yeah, and also friends and people I knew. So there have been quite a few people, and
Yeah.
each one of them has been such a good person. That's the thing that I was like, wow, like so kind, so compassionate, so sensitive, so gentle, and that to me was one of the, I guess, inspirations behind me really wanting to master how to help a individual, you know. And my personal record is 10 minutes, yeah, from talking to a insomniac wanting to jump off his balcony for fourth floor, to him yawning, getting relaxed, and falling asleep for the first time in weeks,
Wow.
and still around. Yeah.
Oh,
um
powerful, Liv.
yeah, and now he's a grandpa now. So
Oh,
so his, yeah, it's wonderful. So uh after this hellish experience, like, I believe in miracles more than ever before. You know, I'm more optimistic than I've ever been, because I've seen the power of belief, of love, you know. Yeah, when after the fire, I was homeless, yeah, because the place was a crime scene, so I had nowhere to go. So a friend from the office, her and her flatmate let me stay at theirs, and it was very kind of them, because the people that I would have thought would have helped me, all of them kind of went, no, you know, we don't want you to burn down our house too. And it's like, no, it was an accident. But it was a big reality check, you know, to see that the people that I thought were really close friends, who I would do anything for, kind of went, no, sorry, you're scary, go away. But the office friend and her flatmate, life-saving. Yeah, they had to kind of clothe me, bathe me, feed me, because I was not here. Then my friends and their 4 children, so they let me stay in their attic, because when I was charged, I had to go to court hearings and then trial, and preparing for all this, it was nerve-wracking as heck. But yeah, they allowed me. So they're a married couple with their 4 kids, and they allowed me stay in their attic. And I never lived with children before, so it was new to me, and it was yet again another life-changing experience, because those kids, I can honestly say, yeah, they saved me. You know, the love, you know, unconditional love, this this love, you know, in their eyes. Look, it's priceless. So
yeah.
I really feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. I've done what I have to do. I've gone through what I had to do in order to be ready for the next chapter, which is quite fresh to me, quite new. I feel like I was hiding under the rock after the fire, really, you know. So this is kind of me coming out, going, hello, hello, you know, a little bit. And yeah, thank you for seriously, for this opportunity to be able to talk about this. It's really special. Thank you.
And thank you as well, Liv, for being so open and transparent and vulnerable and sharing your story. I think there's so much power in what you're sharing. There's so much
Thank you.
inspiration for people who feel like, how am I going to turn this next chapter of my life, and feeling stuck? And even if it's not stuck in similar circumstances as yours, you know, and we started talking about this before, like, we all have stories, we've all gone through struggles and hardships and so on, but I think sometimes we don't have to resonate exactly with the circumstances, but just listening to that message and understanding, like, wow, it is possible for other people, therefore it is also possible for me. And you mentioned as well, like, sometimes you feel, oh my goodness, I've gone through so much and it's so hard. And some people will fall into this pity party for a lifetime. and some people will find a way. And and again, this is not judgment. I know, I appreciate everyone's different and everyone has different sense of resilience and strengths. But you talked about, when you feeling stuck, and I've been there as well. So by the way, this is again not a judgment to anyone, but there comes a point, and this is what I'm trying to create as well with this podcast and this series of empowerment, is there comes a point where we need to reach out and ask for help. We need to reach out, and if the help is being provided, grasp onto it. Now, again, I know there are circumstances, for example, in your case, Liv, where that was, a whole different conversation, right? I'm now talking about where people have, you mentioned the word free will, and that kind of sticks out to me, that remembering that we do have free will to make the choices. And I'm talking about mentally healthy, quote unquote, people here. Yeah. So
we call them the normies, the functionals.
Yes. I like
the
that.
functionals, yeah, and they cause the dysfunctionals. That's our language.
I want to differentiate between that. So when it is not attached to mental illness or mental health, it's more about you choosing to throw yourself a pity party and stay in that place. Like, it is so self-defeating. And I'm not saying this to judge. I'm just saying this because I think life is so beautiful. I think life has so many things to offer, even when we've gone through a lot of shit and we're just like, I don't know how I'm going to get myself out of this. And I've been there, by the way. Again, this is not a judgment, because I've been in places where I'm just like, you know what? I have got to win while I'm still wounded. Like, I'm wounded. It feels crap. I don't like this space. And what really makes a difference, I feel, is who you're surrounded by. And this is the point I'm trying to make. The people, when you can, be very mindful about the people you surround yourself with. I call them my board of directors. So it's like, I've got
I get it.
Yeah, you sit at the head of the table, and who are your CEOs around the table? Make sure you've got some people who are like thick and thin kind of friends, thick and thin kind of family. And I know it's hard. And this board of directors, by the way, we say you're lucky if you have 2 or 3 really good friends. And there is no guarantee, like in your case as well, Liv, where you just thought, you know what? I thought you'd have been there for me. So again, there's no guarantee, but just something to think about. If you know, if you know you've got some shady people in your circle, like, stop investing so much time and effort. Perhaps it's time you kind of release that a little bit. And this is not towards Liv or experience. I'm just saying in general here. I've had to do that the last year and a half, very, very like cutthroat kind of manner. And but yeah, just being mindful of who am I supported by, who else needs to enter this table of mine, my table of life instead, who needs to vacate the seat so I can actually spend more quality time connecting with people who are more connected to me and more loyal, whatever it is that you're looking for. So that being said, Liv, as well, you said you would never go back. You'd never change what you went through.
No.
There were so many teachings. Tell us about some of the teachings that you got that you're just like, nope, I'm not changing this experience.
Okay, so for example, when it comes to stories, listening to stories of my clients, yeah, having gone through all that and being here now, really seeing how the majority of them have never had anyone that cared for them, not since they were born in prison walls, foster care, abused throughout, complete, no hope at all, and living decades like this, completely misunderstood and on the margin of society. I saw the other side, yeah, and knowledge is power, especially the right knowledge, and knowing what such a big number of people experience because sadly, mental health crisis is real. Numbers are growing. Even in little kids, there is suicides in 6 and 7-year-olds. It's like, what?
That's
When
insane.
I was 6, 7, it was My Little Pony, and that was my world. And this, it's
I'm
sad.
sure I even knew that 6, 7 years old that you can take your life, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah. So it's not looking good. And that's why it's like I'm super, super passionate about keeping going with superheroics, with sharing product placement. The superheroics book, yeah, which is the philosophy book, which I use on my clients with rapid positive results observed even in repeat offenders. And the reason why this particular thing works is because it divides everything into 2 piles. Good, bad, yes, no, right, wrong, peace, war, love, hate, freedom, oppression, everything literally, and completely eliminates the so-called gray area, which my dad said was a man-made construct where people kept their excuses. And it's proven successful with post-psychotic individuals who, like I mentioned before, like in my case, I had no idea what was real, what wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, because what seemed not real seemed more real than this matrix that people consider reality. Yes, I was, woo, yeah. But I wouldn't have understood and learned all these things if I hadn't gone through what I'd gone through. Because I never, for example, when I was charged and all that, I was trying to find a job and nobody wanted to hire me, especially even after the trial, because there was an article about me. It wasn't great. And when I started working in hospitality, in service and hospitality, one of the biggest lessons I learned was how people treat you when you've got nothing to offer them, and it was a very eye-opening experience. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, but they didn't know me,
Yeah.
so I didn't take it personally. It was literally just as an observation to see
Yeah.
where is the society at, where are we at? And I would not have known this if I hadn't had to work in this particular at this particular angle. Service and hospitality is, wow, it's what is it called? Like not high five, but like thumb up to everyone in service and hospitality, because the job is very, very hard, and you're constantly with people who, yeah, because of what's happening now, very often are not pleasant. But that was also something that I wanted to turn around and see, okay, what can be done in order to make it more positive? Because the whole point of superheroics is to do good deeds no matter what, even if it's like little one, make somebody smile, at least for 1 second, somebody felt better,
Yeah.
to add numbers to their collective consciousness. So yeah, I can word salad forever, so stop me at
I
any point.
I love that. And with your superheroics, with your work, you founded this absolutely amazing uh company where
Thank
you're
you.
doing such fascinating work. And I'm so impressed, by the way, by the statistics of
Thank you.
how rapid the change is happening. How do you work, or just tell us a little bit more for those who are interested in working with you, like how can they reach you? What's the best place to get in touch with you?
So superheroicsofficial.com.
Mhm.
That's the website with all the information. There is contact info. But how do I work? So it's not a cookie cutter,
Yeah.
one size fits all. Is that the saying? Yeah. It's every individual has their own story, but pain is pain. Yeah. So if somebody is drowned in pain, it's about finding that bit of hope immediately, so that they've got something to hang on to and start kind of climbing out of the well,
Sure.
out of darkness,
Yeah.
one step at a time, slowly but surely. Yeah. And it's about what the individual is ready to tell me, because sometimes there is certain things that they're not ready to tell me, at least not on the beginning. Yeah, whilst building a rapport, I listen to their side of the story. The charity, all the information that's in there, that's just formal version.
Okay.
Yeah, and that more often than not, the formal version is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
So I build the story based on what the individual tells me, so that I can put myself in their position and adjust accordingly. And yeah, it's fascinating how easy it is to connect with someone when you mean well. And because I mainly work with people who don't have anyone that understands them, or don't have, friends to talk to, or don't want to, because getting in trouble with the law is quite embarrassing for some. Some wear it as a badge. It's a daily thing for them, but people like me, I was a first timer as well. It's the scariest experience. You're like, shit, I'm going to prison. I was, yeah, I'm saying it with a smile on my face, because yeah, when asked about the story, when I'm talking about it, I feel more like I'm talking about a movie that I've seen, not something I've been through. But the insight is there, and that is, to me, the thing that makes, yeah, either a winner or a loser. So winner, what was it that I read, is, yeah, a loser that got up one more time. And what my dad said was that no matter how tough it gets, if you've learned something from it, then it's a success. So, okay, so superheroics yet again says don't give up. Yes, superheroes never give up. So I had no choice but to keep going. But I would not have done it without the handful of people that stuck by me, and they know who they are, because there weren't many, really.
I love
And
that what you say there as well about how, just getting up one more time, but then, so, just that resilience, I think, is so important. And it's a philosophy, I think a lot of people would do so much better in life if we adopted a bit more resilience in the things that we experience. And I'm not saying that in a flippant manner, but I'm saying that I think there's a culture sometimes, again, I know we're talking about mental health in this particular instance, and that is very, very different. But I think there's sometimes a culture these days when things don't go your way, and you're not expecting it to go this way. It's like people are so quick to just move on and give up. We see that in relationships. Oh,
absolutely.
they don't put their socks away in the drawer the way I want them to put it, filing for divorce. Or, the frustration, I didn't get promoted after being at work for 1 year, I'm quitting, and it's like we've lost a bit of that resilience.
But here's the thing, because we think that we have an idea of how things are meant to be. The saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Yeah, so my plan was not to end up, basically, yeah, in trouble, a criminal. No, that was not my plan. But would I have preferred my dream case, kind of what I thought my life was going to be, which I was sure I was going to work with music related stuff for the rest of my life. I love music. I was a musician, then did music PR, also loved it very much. One of my favorite periods of my life. But now doing this, no, there's other people that can do music PR, whether it's radio promotion or online stuff, doesn't matter. There's other people that can do it, and probably can do it better. But criminal justice, peer support, and peer support strategies, that's my thing, that's my calling. I'm so grateful for that, and that's also something that I never even knew it existed when I was going through mental health issues, right? And the whole experience. Nobody told me that there was such thing as a peer supporter. So that was annoying, because I didn't have anyone to talk to who'd been through what I was going through, and to tell me that was going to be okay, at least not from the professionals. There was one person who was a friend of a friend who became my friend, who had like a brief experience with prison for like a minor thing. So he tried to help me as much as I could, because I thought every time I was going to court, that's it, I'm going to prison. No, it's just a hearing. You're going to be there for a few minutes. You're going to need to do this, then you're going to like all these things. It really helped me quite a bit. But he himself didn't know about the whole mental health issue side of things. Yeah. So yeah, NHS had to wait for quite a while, for the NHS to help out after the fire. It's like the police took me to a hospital, which ironically, that's where I would go once a week.
NHS is the National Health Service here in the UK.
Sorry, yes. So they took me there and they evaluated me and they decided to let me go. That was on the day of the fire. Yeah, they decided to let me go because I was too dangerous for the hospital. And it's like, where is the logic? It makes no sense. But yeah, so I was let out. I had no shoes. I just had phone with like 3% battery, seriously, just PJs and socks. And I just mindlessly ended up walking towards home where I couldn't be because it was a crime scene. So my office friend let me stay at theirs, and like what I mentioned before, and I will forever be grateful to them for taking me in without knowing what happened. They just, they weren't afraid of me, and that was something that was also new, because when I saw, it's like it feels a bit like a dream, okay? But yeah, when the fire was happening, the fire truck was there, then the people, the bystanders, I could see they had fear in their eyes. There were some that I were just looking around, but there were some that, and nobody had ever looked at me like that before, with genuine fear. So that was, yeah, unpleasant. And I don't want anyone to look at me that way ever again, because it's heavy.
It's heavy. It's like your story. I find it so fascinating listening to your journey, where you are today, what you've managed to create for yourself. I think is inspiring. It's empowering, and I think it gives a lot of hope and encouragement to people who, whatever situation that you're going through, that there is hope. You still, like, you're here. You have a purpose. You still have a purpose in life. Like, God is not done with you. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, whatever it is. But, as long as you're still here, God is not done with you. The universe is not done with you.
Yes.
If you are affected by anything that's discussed on this podcast, Liv, would you be happy for them to reach out to you?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, we can do a free call, no problem.
Brilliant.
If they can, yeah, in the subject line or in the email, because there is all the information is on the website. If they write on, then I'll know that they've come from you, and yeah, we can have a free chat. Absolutely. I'm really here I'm here to help and to serve and do what I can. And the thing that I wanted to mention was like, because what's next, right? So there was a story that my dad told me when I was 7. And recently, when I caught up with a friend of mine, she told me, oh, my daughter, she heard this story and it's her favorite. And she started telling me the story. And it was the same story that my dad told me, which I loved. So I thought I'd share. Yeah. It's a story about a hummingbird. Have you heard it? It's an old South American, I think, tale. And there was a fire in the forest. There was a forest fire. And all the animals were running away, trying to escape the fire and save themselves, except the hummingbird, who would go to the river, would take a few droplets into its mouth, then fly, pour it onto fire, back and forth and back and forth. The animals stop running. They look at the hummingbird and they start laughing, going, "Come on, look at the size of the fire. You're never gonna manage to put it out." And the hummingbird replies, "I'm doing what I can." And then I remember my dad added, now imagine 100 hummingbirds, 10,000, 1,000,000. Only that way we can put out the fire. So for me, what's next, and for you as well, like we're on a similar path, hon. Yeah. It's to stand up, to rise up like the hummingbird did. And there you go. All of us can do our bit, and that's it. I really believe that it is possible to save the world.
I absolutely really, really love that. And I think it's such a beautiful way to end this podcast. It's like, I'm doing my best. And imagine if we all actually just put in our best in service of others, humanity, the world, and not just to ourselves. Like, not just to serve us, but to serve other people.
Yeah, but the truth is that the more we help others, the more we do for ourselves. You know, the universe hasn't created walls or borders, right? We're all one and always. However, in this day and age, you know, I can imagine people all going, oh, you know, if you're nice to people, they will use you because kindness is weakness. And it's like, yeah, we're not talking about being silly though and being a doormat. It's about helping where we can, right? Standing up or where we can, and being the shoulder for someone to cry on. If each one of us helps one person, that's it.
Exactly. And you know what? You know, it's interesting when you say about your kindness is used against you. And you know what? It is true. Sometimes it is. But guess what the alternative is? To go around being miserable and horrible and suspicious of everyone. That is not a life, you know? So, and there is no guarantees in life anyway. Like, we need to stop going around with this expectation that anything is guaranteed. Because I believe the only two things that are guaranteed in life is that you're born and you die. Everything else in between, as you say, when you start creating your own plans and you think, I really got this unlocked, God is going, really? Let's see about that.
But that's the
So,
thing.
you
Yeah,
know,
go ahead.
yeah, you can't live your life out of fear because there's no guarantee or people are pessimistic. I honestly believe most people have a good heart. Of course, you'll come across people who are just not nice or who will take advantage of your kindness. You know, we've all been there, but that shouldn't stop us from showing up as the nice person, that loving person that we want to be, if that feels in alignment with who you are.
Compassion is the thing that differentiates those who work with vulnerable individuals who care and those who just are there for a paycheck. Okay, and it's so easy and so obvious so literally, because people go, oh, what's your secret, Liv? What is it that you tell them that changes their mindsets or whatnot? It's like nothing, but I do know what it's like to be in pain. Yeah. And I know what it's like to be treated like a nobody and to be judged. And I know not to do that.
Yeah.
So that's, and helping, even listening, even just showing up and listening, not even giving any advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's enough because the person can let things out, feeling safe, knowing that they're not being judged. And honestly, it's like, I know that they're anonymous because, it's all confidential, so I cannot give names. I wish I could show the before and after. It's magical. And yeah, it makes me believe more and more in miracles, really. It's
Liv, I could talk to you forever, but just because of the time, I'm gonna have to wrap it up here.
Of course.
I'd love
Thank
to
you so
have
much.
in future as well. Absolutely. I think we could definitely go on for longer. But before I let you go, just let the listeners know,
Okay.
all of Liv's details are going to be on the show notes. So as we mentioned earlier on, Liv, being the lovely person that she is, she's offering the listeners a free consultation call, initial free consultation call. So just check out the links. They're all going to be on the show notes, whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on, or whether it's on my website as well. It's all on there. All you have to do is click on the links. Make sure you follow Liv as well on her social media platforms. The links are on there as well. And thank you so much again, Liv, for being on this podcast, for sharing your story so openly, honestly, and really giving other people a very inspiring story to not just listen to, but actually get, like, I feel like it's like you're raving up your soul inside to be like, you know what? Life does get better. Life can be better. So thank you so much for that, Liv. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to me and for inviting me. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Remember, every Thursday, we drop a new episode of the Love You Want podcast. It starts with you. It's all about empowering you, inspiring you, and making sure that you are aligning with your purpose. All right. Until next time, I appreciate you all. Bye.
Bye.